Howdy everybody, it is Chef Evans here to talk to y'all about Chapter 8 of ServSafe, Food Safety Management Systems. So it is defined as a group of practices and procedures intended to prevent foodborne illness, and it actively controls risks and hazards throughout the flow of food, which we talked about before, goes all the way from purchasing to receiving to then finally serving. These are the foundations of a food safety management system: a personal hygiene program, a food safety training program, a supplier selection and specification program, a quality control and assurance program, a cleaning and sanitation program, standard operating procedures, facility design and equipment maintenance program, and a pest control program. All of these things make up our food safety management systems. So let's go through some questions real quick. A cook forgot to wash his uniform before starting to work. Could this cause a foodborne illness? Yes or no? Well, we're going to say yes because this employee is practicing poor personal hygiene. This is a common risk for foodborne illness. Not to say that someone with a stain on his shirt is going to cause foodborne illness. However, it does represent sloppy personal hygiene, so that definitely is a factor. A chicken breast was cooked to 165. Could this cause a foodborne illness? We're going to say no, because failing to cook food correctly is a risk for foodborne illness, but this chicken was cooked to the correct temperature, so we're good to go. A cook served rice at 120 degrees from a holding unit. Could this cause foodborne illness? And those of y'all that have been paying attention know that we need to have an internal temperature of 135 for cooked grains. So we're going to say that yes, this could cause a foodborne illness. It should be held at 135. Holding food at incorrect temperatures is a risk for foodborne illness. A manager bought steaks raised and sold from a private home. Could this cause a foodborne illness? Well, actually it could, because they are not from an approved, reliable source. That is a risk for foodborne illness. The cutting board was used to prep fish and then fruit salad. Could this cause foodborne illness? Absolutely. Remember, we could never use a raw product and then a ready-to-eat product on the same cutting board. That's cross-contamination. Contaminated equipment is a risk, for foodborne illness. So active managerial control focuses on controlling the 5 most common risk factors for foodborne illness. 1, purchasing from unsafe sources. 2, failing to cook food correctly. 3, holding food at incorrect temperatures. 4, using contaminated equipment. Or 5, practicing poor personal hygiene. There are many ways to achieve active managerial control in the program with training, appropriately trained managers to supervise, incorporation of standard operating procedures, we'll call them SOPs, and a HACCP program, which we'll talk briefly about in a minute. To keep food safe, we have to practice active managerial control throughout the food, meaning pay attention to all of those things that I just talked about. Anticipate foodborne illness risk factors and control for eliminating them. Apply what you have learned in ServSafe, monitor the flow of food, and provide staff with the appropriate tools to make sure that food is safe, meaning standard operating procedures and training. We need to identify risks, monitor those risks, and provide corrective action if need be, management oversight, training, and reevaluation. When we identify the risks, we're finding and documenting potential foodborne illness risks in the operation and identifying the hazards that can be controlled or eliminated. When we're talking about monitoring, we are monitoring that food will be safe if managers monitor critical activities, and we identify where employees must monitor food safety requirements. For example, when temperatures must be taken and how often sanitizer concentrations should be tested. For corrective action, we need to take appropriate steps to correct improper procedures or behaviors. For example, if the sanitizer level is too low, increase the concentration level. Corrective action. Management oversight, we're going to verify that all policies, procedures, and corrective actions are followed. Training, we're going to ensure that employees are trained to follow proper procedures and retrained when necessary. And a reevaluation will periodically assess the system to make sure that it's working correctly and effectively. So the FDA has public health interventions. It provides recommendations for controlling the common risk factors for foodborne illness with the demonstration of knowledge, staff health controls, controlling hands as a vehicle of contamination, time and temperature parameters for controlling pathogens, and consumer advisories. HACCP. HACCP is based on identifying significant biological, chemical, or physical hazards at specific points within a product's flow through an operation. Once identified, hazards can be prevented, eliminated, or reduced to safe levels. Now, HACCP used to be much bigger in ServSafe. They used to go into a lot of detail, but they don't do that anymore. You should know, however, that HACCP stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. Let's see if I can write that. Hazard. Uh-oh. Hazard. That's probably better if I just do it like this. There we go. Analysis. Critical. And it's just like what it sounds like. You are identifying certain items throughout the operation that need monitored and keeping an eye on that. Okay, hazard analysis critical control point. To be effective, a HACCP system must be based on a written plan. It must be specific to each facility's menu, customers, equipment, processes, and operations. And a plan that works for one operation may not work for another. For example, you're not going to have the same policies and procedures working at McDonald's that you do working at Burns, just because the processes are different. All right, questions on any of this, always email or you can ask a question through one of your activities as well. Hope y'all have a good day.